Greetings in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, Melech of Yasharal, Kohen forever according to the order of Melchizedek. All esteem, honor, and glory unto our Alua, Yahuwah. My name is Mayakal Shalama. This is Melek Shalomoh Trading, and I'm going to do a trade recap here on ES Futures. So before we start, I'm going to do this risk disclosure.
Boom. Sweep ES sellers at $5,683.
General disclosure. All MELEK SHELOMOH Trading LLC materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
All right, so risk disclosure out of the way. Let's jump into the charts. And let's see here. We're going to start off with the higher time frame. We're going to start with a daily chart, and this is my Wycoff distribution chart, or my Wycoff chart, right? So I'm going to point out something here. So from around, let's say what date was this? From around October, we started to create like a distribution pattern right here. So we went sideways, distributed, and I have these labels here: uptrust, secondary stop, and buying climax and all that stuff. But I'm just going to point out the price action for now. When we get down to this level here where we're at, that's when I'm going to get into more of these levels and what they mean. So we actually broke out of this distribution, sold off, created what I thought at the time would be an accumulation back up into the structure. We actually created a redistribution right here, and we fell out, right? So when we fell out here, we created something like a thermal shakeout or maybe a selling climax. Now I'm looking at it now as, so from this redistribution, when it was forming, I thought it might be a accumulation structure, so this would be a very deep thermal shakeout. But looking at it now, this is more likely a selling a selling climax. This would be the automatic rally right here. This would be the uptrust, and this would be the lowest point of supply right now, right? This is the secondary test, and that's the uptrust, lowest point of supply, and then we pushed out of the range, right? So this is beginning to be an uptrend, right? Because we're pushing out of this accumulation. So let's see here. Let me take that off. Let me try and open this a little more, right? So basically fell out of this distribution, created a redistribution, fell out here, created a selling climax, created a new, it basically changed the character from selling into an accumulation, excuse me, and then we basically pushed out of the range, right? So now we have all these bullish candles pushing out of the range, right? So the top of the range here would be the uptrust at roughly 55.32, right? So once we broke out of the range, we came back in here and we tested it and we pushed back out, right? So let me just use the arrows here. So that's the test back into the range. We have several buying wicks. Buyers want to push out of the range. We pushed up and now we're here, right? So I'm going to drop down now to the 4-hour chart. Right, so this is a little more detailed of the accumulation that happened. So we have the selling climax. We have the automatic rally here at 53.05. We pulled back. We created the secondary test at around 48.72.50, and then we pushed up and we created the uptrust action. So the uptrust action is around, let's say 55, 28, 75. We pull back into the range, found buyers, pushed up again, created a test here. This is the lowest point of support here, right? And that's where we pushed off from. So we pushed out of the range. And now this is what I was looking at yesterday. So because I'm trying to form a thesis of what's going on from a Wycoff theory perspective, right? But this here is basically pushing out. This is a uptrend out of the range, right? Now, as we get to this level here, as we push out of the range, we're basically creating a mini distribution structure right here, right? So we have something like a buying climax. We have the automatic reaction. We have the uptrust into a prior automatic rally, right? And let me just show you this. We're actually pushing back in to this redistribution range here, right? So that's where we're getting the automatic rally level that we're now getting resistance at, right? So this redistribution here, this was heavy sellers because they pushed out hard from this redistribution. It's likely that sellers would activate again here because you can see big selling. If this was supposed to be accumulation, this would have been the spring, and we're supposed to push out of the range. We actually got heavy sellers right here, pushed it right back, broke the bottom of the range, the redistribution, and we pushed down hard, right? Now that we're coming back into this level here, I'm looking to see what price action is doing, right? So we're running into the automatic rally of the redistribution, and we're basically creating now, let me just open that up. Right, so we're basically creating now a buying climax, automatic reaction, uptrust at the automatic rally, and this here, as we open, we created that after the uptrust, we push down, and now what we could be creating are lowest points of supply. So this was my thesis going into the market today, looking for an entry to have a lowest point of supply entry on one of these pullbacks, right? So let's go down to the 5-minute chart and see where we could find this setup. All right, we're gonna stick with the Wycoff chart. So on a 5-minute chart, Friday evening, at the close, we created the uptrust. As soon as we open in the ETH yesterday, we start getting the push down, right? So after the uptrust, we start moving down, right? And it's aggressive selling. And that's what usually happens after uptrust is aggressive selling, right? So we push down here. This is the central pivot, this blue line. It's at 56.7825. Camarilla S3 is at 56.7497. For me, this is a golden pivot zone. What would have been support has now turned into resistance. So from a Camarilla perspective, this is giving me, or a floor pivot and Camarilla perspective, this is a golden pivot zone. We're supposed to get buyers here to support this price if we're going to push back up. We get small buyers here trying to push it back up. Sellers take control again and push it back down to the bottom central pivot, which is at 56.63. So it's a central pivot range, right? This is the bottom central. This is the central pivot. This is the top central. So that's the pivot range. Camarilla S3 is within the floor pivot, central pivot range, creating that support level, golden pivot zone. So after we push down out of this supposedly support area, support is now going to become resistance. Now, if that's the case, it's lining up with the uptrust pushing down, the selling after the uptrust, and we're going to start creating lower points of supply. right? That's lining up with the open, right? So let me just open that up a little more. Right, so this is my IB range, kind of like marker on the chart. So we just created the IB high, which is at 56.8175. The mid is 56.6850. The low is 56.5525. Right, so basically, and you know what? Let me just take that off for clarity. Right, all right. So from the higher time frame, I'm looking for a lower point of supply to start executing. So I'm looking for this to become support turn resistance. I'm looking for a pullback, a lower point of supply. So on a lower time frame or on bookmap order flow, I'm trying to look for a setup that's basically a distribution setup, right? Because everything distributes within each other, right? There's smaller distributions within bigger distributions. So if it's a lower points of supply I'm looking for at this level, I'm looking for a distribution pattern to form, right? So these are 5-minute candles. So this pushing up from here, we could start to see probably buying climax, automatic reaction, uptrust, and then we get the pushback down, right? Uptrust, and then we start creating these lower points of supply. Now we're pushing out of that, and we could push up now to create a lower point of supply at, let's see. Now what may appear bullish is actually going to be an uptrust after distribution, which is going to be possibly around Camarilla R3. So if we find the buyers here, it pushes up. We had the initial distribution here. I got my setup here, but now we're finding the buyers taking it up. This could potentially be a uptrust after distribution at this level, coming back into this higher time frame automatic rally level and previous week's high, right? So you could get like a little stop run above there, hit Camarilla R3, which would create an uptrust after distribution. That's the uptrust after distribution, and it's going to take us back down, right? Because we are in a zone here where it's a redistribution zone, a prior redistribution zone. So we could look for sellers to start activating. We already see the sellers are in the market. We're getting a little stop run here. The setup could be uptrust after distribution around, what is it, 57.27, right? We have these levels here as well, Camarilla R4. We never know exactly where the uptrust after distribution is going to take place. This is a bullish target as well, 57, 55, 75. So around these resistance areas is where we could potentially get the uptrust after distribution. All right, so I rambled enough on that. Let's get to the trade. All right, so market open is here. All right, so we get the market open, RTH open. We initially push up into this liquidity area here. We have buying sweeps going off. We get the initial setup of our lowest point of supply and a distribution setup, right? So this is too early for me to take a trade, right? The volatility is too high. Plus, I'm not really getting a pivot level here. I have a weekly top central pivot, but I just wanted my Camarilla S3 and central pivot to be my support turn resistance for my lower point of supply, right? So if this was to push all the way down from here and continue, then I would just let that trade go, right? Now we pushed up into liquidity. This is a distribution setup, right? We have a buying climax. We have a automatic reaction. uptrust, lowest points of supply, liquidity providing that resistance, and we break down, right? We break down VWAP, retest VWAP, nice entry potentials, lowest points of supply, breaking down, retest VWAP, lowest points of supply at lower deviations, 360 fire strategy. If you miss the black sun here, right, you start getting the 360 fire, which is those retests in the downtrend on those lower deviations and VWAP. You eventually get this V reversal here at this 2.5 VWAP lower deviation. We push back up, we retest. You get another 360 fire setup here, mini distribution, sell off again. So let's see what happened here. Right, so we're moving across. Now, this is where things are changing, right? You're starting to get an accumulation structure here because this could be selling climax, automatic rally, secondary test, and now we're going to push out of this accumulation range, right? So this is what I call a bowling green strategy. Could take entries here at the secondary test to go long back to these upper deviations, right? You have the push up above first lower deviation, retest, buyers, push out, retest, push out, hitting first upper deviation. So that's my bowling green strategy. Not looking for longs today, but just pointing these out, right? So let's see. After that little accumulation, we push back up. We get up to liquidity here at around 56.68 or 56.69. This is first upper deviation, second upper deviation, 2.5, right? So we're looking bullish or retracing, right, to get up to my levels. We're hitting big liquidity, potential resistance, holding at first upper deviation, buyers holding it. We push up to second upper deviation, and we start to get a little sideways movement. So this basically is another distribution pattern. You're getting the buying climax, you're getting the automatic reaction, uptrust, and these are the upper deviation levels. This is the setup here where the liquidity is absorbing the buyers, right? You can see it happening here, right? You get the uptrust, breakdown, test, and we're potentially getting another breakdown here, right? So I'm just trying to point out that these strategies happen all the time. It depends on where you want to take it, right? So distribution pattern pushes us back down all the way here to these lower deviations, hitting these bids, and let's see what we get here. This is another bowling green setup. We get the accumulation between first lower deviation, second lower deviation. We get the selling climax. Bid is holding it, right? We come down to this heavy bid right here. Bid is holding. We push out. All of this entry strategies shake out here on the selling climax. Push up. Entries on the bowling green strategy. Pushing back up to VWAP. Solid green line. We get our target, first target. Push up to the volume point of control, that light blue line, first upper deviation target, right? So that's the bowling green strategy there again. While we're pushing up, we're actually hitting these liquidity areas again, right? So let's see if we get like a little distribution pattern here. Right, so we're basically pushing above VWAP. And we're distributing a little bit above VWAP. So this could have been a potential, let's say maybe a 360 fire strategy setup, but this wouldn't, it's looking like you probably, yeah, you will get a setup here, but basically this would be, while it's pushing back up here, you'll probably get stopped out. Let's say you're trying to enter the downtrend, coming back to VWAP, retesting VWAP. You push down to the first lower deviation, it starts to consolidate. you probably have to stop out here as we break above VWAP again and look for another setup. This would be another setup here or here, right? You hit upper deviation, and this is the 360 fire strategy, right? You hit the upper deviation, buy an exhaustion, push down first lower deviation. All of these are potential entry areas here, or you could wait till you break down VWAP, get a retest, you push down to, what is it, 2.5 deviation, right? So you get a nice little setup right there. Again, accumulation is happening between first lower deviation, second lower deviation, somewhat of a selling climax here. Consolidate, we push back out, right? Another bowling green strategy setup. We have the liquidity here, heavy volume on the selling climax, right? You see heavy volume, selling climax, retesting second lower deviation after we push up here, right? You get a little consolidation back and forth. The bid is supporting price. This is the volume point of control here. Where is it? Come on, trying to highlight it here. It's not highlighted. No, this is actually iceberg buyers, my bad. So we get the bid supporting, right? You see the bid is heavy. Buyers taking it back up. Bowling green strategy, taking you back up to first upper deviation, second upper deviation. And I'm just patiently waiting on my trade. So basically here, we retest this first upper deviation and we get this massive buying. So this is what I'm looking for, right? As you can see here, there's a lot of buying sweeps going off in this here. So we have this big push into liquidity, heavy liquidity, right? We have more liquidity above. Let's see here. And let me just show you this real quick. So this is happening very quickly, right? So let me just point this out. Buying climax, automatic reaction, right? So it's an immediate selling reaction. So this is basically showing you a distribution is setting up. 1 second. Right, so I'm looking at this here. Distribution is setting up because we're running into heavy liquidity. We have buying sweeps. We have heavy volume. Immediate selling reaction, right? Now we're looking at the buyers pushing back up again. They have to attack this liquidity here again, right? So let's take this off. And where all of this is happening is basically at the upper deviations, right? So this is another, is a tool I use to see where distribution is happening. Distribution usually happens in upper deviations, right? This is VWAP all the way down here. This right here is the volume point of control. So we had buyers push up from the volume point of control into heavy liquidity. Upper deviations, this is +3 deviation, 2.5 and +2 and first upper deviation, right? Pushing up here into heavy liquidity. We had the automatic reaction, initial sellers after the big buying. So we're looking to see what buyers are going to do now, right? Do they have the power to push through this liquidity here? Because this is the beginning of a distribution structure. We're in these upper deviations. We're going to take on liquidity now. So we push up here. We hit this liquidity, big buying, good volume. We have the initial pullback. So I take this as my potential uptrust. I take this entry here, right? Because it's a rejection of the +3 deviation, right? After the buying climax. So potential uptrust here. And this is the thing about this strategy is if we push above this level, I'm out. And that's basically the risk I'm taking on these trades, right? Now, I didn't catch this right away because these things happen really quickly. We're looking at this is happening within within, if you follow the timeline at the bottom there, right, that's 1 second. This is basically happening within, let's see, about 10 seconds, right? So I wait to see if there's a exhaustion. We start seeing the exhaustion because after this, we hit this liquidity. Buyers are not pushing up. They're not pushing up, losing ground. This for me right here is a trigger. This was a buying attempt that failed. That's my exhaustion right there. Small buying. We get the push down, but this liquidity here stops me out, right? This liquidity. As soon as I enter, this liquidity jumps into the book. So we push up again. I get stopped out here, right? I have a 3-point stop. As soon as I move above this level, I'm stopping out. I could have stopped out here a little earlier, but this is really where I want to stop out. As soon as we move above this, what I call a potential uptrust, I'm stopping out. So now I'm looking again. As soon as I stop out, it's not even how much seconds would this be? 22 to around, let's say 28, right? Within those seconds right there, I'm looking at this here. Are we buying? Are we following through? Is this the uptrust, right? We break down out of this little consolidation. Heavy offers on the heavy liquidity on the offer. You see them right here, right? And they're actually increasing after we break down. So jump in the trade again. We get a breakdown. This is 2.5 deviation, and again this is an extended upper deviation at +3, right? Looking for the uptrust at this level. Heavy liquidity, no follow through from the buyers. Breakdown, my stop is above here. We get a retest of my entry. We consolidate. I'm seeing the best offer is not getting hit. Buyers are not really taking it up. Sellers are taking control at these bigger bubbles, right? We got a breakdown. We hit this liquidity here on the bid. I want to see the reaction. We get a push back up. We hit this plus 2.5 upper deviation. We get sellers. Exhaustion on the best offer. Sellers again. Sellers take control. This is cause for concern because I'm getting selling sweeps. Potential reversal in the other direction. If I don't get buyers here, the sellers are maintaining control because after this selling sweep, buyers are supposed to push this back up. No buyers, potential buyers, but then we get buying sweeps. That's a good indication that we're going to reverse to the other side, right? So iceberg sellers, punks, right? See the iceberg sellers right there. They push it down. I'm seeing these guys on the bid. This one pulled. We get a retest. Offers on the liquidity on the offer at 2.5 upper deviation. They push away. Iceberg sellers active. And we're pushing down. We run into this bid, take it out. Small retracement off of this, right? Sellers maintaining control, iceberg seller, selling sweeps. This is another cause for concern. After these selling sweeps, just above this liquidity, I'm looking at buyers. What are you doing? Are you going to take it up, or are you still failing to push it up? Sellers in control, they push down again. Another selling sweep into this liquidity on the bid. The bid pulls. We get no buying response. Selling sweeps again. Still looking at potential reversals to the upside. Selling sweeps, hitting the bid. Buyers nowhere to be seen. This is a buying attempt. Push down into the bid again. Push down into the bid. Hits my target right here. Right now, this was an eval account, and I just needed, I think, like 5,000 more to hit 9,000 on this 150K account. So this was This was all I needed right here. Now I actually took another trade because this didn't get me up to this level right here. I think I got up to like 4,800 or something like that. So after this trade, right, because I took it off at, this is volume point of control, that blue line right there. This is VWAP. So we're running into these support levels. They get the support, we start pushing back up. I'm already out at this level here at VPOC. So let's see. And as I was explaining in the beginning of this video, Camarilla S3 central pivot is my support and resistance. Where do I take the trade? At the stop run just above that, my distribution pattern is taking place. Heavy liquidity on the offer, and we push down to my target. Right? I get my target. Now I'm looking at this here, we push down below VWAP. VWAP is at approximately 56, 66, 78, right? We get a stop run below VWAP. After the uptrust, we're going to get a test, right? We push back up, we get buying sweeps. Buying exhaustion right there. After we push up and we start getting buying sweeps, I'm looking for the buyers to continue. No continuation, no continuation, breakdown, entry, right? Stop is above here. And as we break down to, let's see, oh, this was the liquidity I was looking at here. So as soon as we push down into this level, right, we had liquidity, they pulled. But as soon as we start pushing back up, I thought to myself, I say, okay, this lower point of supply from here isn't really finished. They're gonna actually push back up into this golden pivot zone right here again. So I just took my profit. I know I already passed the eval, no need to push it anymore, right? So what you're gonna get here is probably another setup, lowest point of supply, or a test to push back down to around VWAP levels, right? This is VWAP here. This is the liquidity. That's another potential entry right there. Heavy liquidity. You get the selling pushing back down. Now, eventually, buyers take it up. You get another potential setup here for lowest point of supply, push back down. And I guess eventually the buyers do take control and push it out of this this golden pivot zone that was creating the resistance, right? Yeah. So let's see where are we currently, right? Let's go. Right, so all of these here, you're moving up to these plus 2.5 upper deviations. Let me just open this up again. And these are basically little mini distribution patterns, right? And then you're basically coming down to retest it'll basically probably retest this this central pivot range, central pivot. If not, then buyers should hold around this area to push back up, right? To the potential Camarilla R3 uptrust after distribution, as I was saying in the beginning of the video, right? So we're holding above VWAP, we're holding above support. This is VWAP. VWAP is at Camarilla S3 and around the central pivot range. This is first upper deviation. Buyers trying to hold it right there. And they have to push up now out of this potential distribution right here. Yeah, and that's basically the trade setups I broke down today. The Black Sun strategy, you had the Bowling Green, you had the 360 fire. I was looking for the LPSY at my higher time frame, which is, let's see, let's just go back to the trade and view chart. Right, I was basically after this uptrust here, I'm looking for a lower point of supply, this being my support and resistance. Got my distribution pattern here, right? And push down, I got my trade somewhere around here, right? Now we're looking to potentially create the uptrust after distribution if this support holds, to push up to these levels here, these resistance levels, this longer time frame automatic rally from the prior redistribution I was saying before. This is previous week's high as well, so this is already looking like a little mini distribution pattern here, as I was showing you on the order flow and bookmap. Could potentially push down from here if we don't find buyers, right? All right, y'all. So it's MELEK Shalomoh. This is MELEK Shalomoh Trading, and I hope this was informative. You know what I mean? How long is this video now? 36 minutes. So I went kind of long in this trade recap video, but there was a lot of potential setups, and basically it was a nice clean setup for me today. So I ran one of these 150K Apex Evals, so I probably passed that. Well, I did pass that today, right? All right, y'all. So shalom.